Welcome to Just John and April, the relationship podcast, your place for life, love, and laughs. In today's episode, harsh tones and word of the day.
Okay. Wow. April Nixon. How are you doing?
I'm cold.
It's not that cold, babe.
It is cold.
You know, this woman has real problems. So first of all,
I'm
from the Northeast.
I'm freezing.
And so the moment it turns, what do you call this, fall, I'm excited. You know, I hate it when it's super duper hot. I feel like you can't get cool enough no matter how far down you.
Like that.
And she loves that. So right now she's talking about it's cold. It was 59 degrees today.
First of all, it was like 53.
No, April. That's not true. It was 59 degrees. Now, it was raining.
It felt like it.
Now, it might have been 53 earlier when it was raining. You're probably right. When I came to pick you up from school today, it was 59.
I'm
but it wasn't raining
looking
anymore.
at the weather. I'm constantly looking to see. True. And I had to wear a little sweater today, and it was not enough.
You actually had on your jacket all day, you said.
I did. My room was freezing. Everything
hilarious.
is just cold. It's like, can I get some heat, please?
Okay, well, just get a heater.
From somewhere.
Don't you have
I do have a heater.
Exactly. Use that.
I am.
Use your space heater.
And I'm bringing a blanket to school. And I'm going to look like a little old lady with a blanket on my lap.
Brother.
When I'm at my desk, I will. And
That's
when
so
I walk
funny.
around, I'm going to just put it around me and go
like
look at
a quilt.
Talk to the kids.
You're just going to be ancient.
I
just
am.
go ahead and, just lean into that joint because you're old as what?
I'm going to lean into it.
Anyway, I love this weather. This is great, and this is actually one of the advantages, in my opinion, to living here in D.C. instead of living in Atlanta. So this is great to me. I'm loving it.
No, that's the one thing I could do without.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Let's go.
we're gonna start talking about a subject that we didn't realize was such a big issue.
Right.
I mean, we knew that it could have some, problems within a relationship, but we didn't realize how big it was until we did a seminar this past weekend. Mm-hmm. And as we talked to the crowd, we began talking about, communication skills and conflict resolution and that kind of thing. And we talked about harsh tones. We thought we were just going to talk about it a little bit and then move on.
Right.
But it became its own little section.
Yes.
And we began to talk about harsh tones, and there were a lot of questions and comments that came from that.
We weren't even taking questions, but people kept coming to the mic.
Kept raising their hand or coming to the mic,
Yes.
trying to ask questions. What can they do? How do they fix this? Because the harsh tone is such a big deal in the relationship.
So let me tell you, though, this is crazy because when April and I were preparing this, we actually did not include that word. You remember that, babe?
Yeah, we didn't.
So I was putting some slides together, and we were on a particular slide, and we were just listing some different things. And I said, I think I'm going to put harsh tones. April said, well, I don't think we need to include that. And we kind of went back and forth a little bit. And then later on, I just decided, you know what? I think I'm going to just add it. I don't know what told me to do that.
I'm so glad he did because it just...
Y'all, I'm talking about 30 minutes of the presentation. We just talked about that. People just kept coming to the mic, kept raising their hand. We couldn't move on. And it was great, actually.
It was good. We were glad.
Yeah, our philosophy really is that if ever we're talking about anything, if something organic comes up in the conversation that people are dealing with, we do this in our counseling, we do this if we're doing seminars, whatever. If something comes up organically that is like the thing for this group, we go ahead and we spend some time on it. So we went ahead and just did that. And we looked to see if the leader was okay with it. He was fine with it. It was just going so well, though, because people just were getting this question answered. Yeah. It was crazy. We were surprised. I was thoroughly surprised.
I was surprised. So we thought today or this week that we should go ahead and talk about this.
Yeah.
Because it's an issue.
Yeah.
A lot of couples are dealing with one or the other or both having a harsh tone when there's conflict. Yeah. And it causes a lot of hurt, actually.
Yes. And the impression I got, actually, from the couples that were mentioning it in the conversation at the seminar is that it's not only in conflict that some of them are dealing with the harsh tones.
That's true. That's true.
So here's how we set it up.
It isn't always in conflict.
Well, I'm saying the way they were describing it, it sounded like they were talking about like in regular life that their spouse is just too harsh with them.
But let's just talk about us.
I was going to set it up, right?
So go ahead and set it up.
So the way we set it up at the seminar, here's what we said. We said, April and I are very different in this one way, that we're alike in a lot of things, but the regions in which we grew up sort of created a difference for us that we really had struggled with in the early part of our relationship. That is, I'm from New York and she's from Atlanta. I'm from the Northeast where everyone's direct. She's from the South where people are polite. And so what was happening was we were having a lot of conflict with each other in the way that I responded to her on certain things. And she just felt like I was just too harsh. And when I gave that example to the crowd, it was like the moaning. People were like, oh, I mean, and wives looking at husbands looking at wives. And it wasn't uniform. It wasn't that all the husbands were the harsh ones and all the wives were the
right.
But there were a lot of couples where one of them came from an area of the country or the world where politeness was the thing, and another one came from a country or area where directness was the thing.
Right.
And clearly this has caused conflict for them.
Exactly.
And so when we started talking about it, man, they resonated with it so hard. And I just wasn't expecting that.
Right. And with us, it's like sometimes we would just be talking.
Right.
And I'd be like, why you got to be so rough?
And I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? How is that rough?
Yeah. But I mean, you have to, I think that, he would say to me, or you would say to me, this is who I am.
You got to accept me.
You got to accept me.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that response. Mm-hmm. I don't. And
now hold on. Just to be clear, we do believe that it's important
to accept.
Yes,
acceptance
so let's
is
an important feature. It's probably the most important feature in a relationship.
Exactly.
But accepting who a person is and accepting certain things that a person does are two different things.
That's true. And there's a fine line. There's a thin line because sometimes you can feel like you're not accepted because someone doesn't accept
a particular
action.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to distinguish between the two.
You do. Yeah.
Because there's a difference.
Right.
And John, I accept you.
I do.
But
I do know that you do accept me, and I've always felt accepted. Actually,
yeah,
I felt accepted by you from the beginning when we were dating. Mm-hmm. So that's never been in question.
Yeah.
But you definitely do not accept that particular action from me.
No, and and when he would say, "This is who I am," that would really bother me, as if your action is who you are and you can't change that action. Like,
right.
Yes, you are a person who can speak directly, you're used to that, but the way you are brought up or the way you were raised doesn't mean you have to stay that way.
Right.
That's not necessarily who you are. I mean, it does form who you are. I do believe that. Right. But I think that you can decide that I'm not going to take that part of my upbringing into my relationship because everything from your upbringing is not the best. Right. And it may not be good for this relationship. Right. If you were with a girl from New York or whatever, she might be like, cool, I get it, but I don't like that. Right. And it doesn't make me feel good.
Right. And so that was the thing that was always the real sticking point for us, is that whether I meant to speak harshly or not is not actually the point in that situation. Mm-hmm. The point is, if I'm doing harm to my significant other, whether I meant to do it or not, if I don't want to harm them, then I need to find a way to try to make this better. And there are several ways of doing that. Mm-hmm. I think the first thing is that we, as the harsh one, have to be open to the idea that I don't define what is harsh. My spouse defines what is harsh.
Right.
That's really where it starts.
And I think that's the issue, because it takes a lot of work. Okay.
It does.
It takes a lot of thought.
Yes.
To actually think about what the other person needs and how I need to speak to them. Right. And so it's a little effort there.
It is.
And so when you come home from work, you ain't trying to put forth enough effort.
Of course not. I'm tired. I've been through all kind of stuff. I don't feel like doing all that.
How does she want me to talk to her? Right. How does he need me to talk to him?
Yes.
But you're in a marriage.
Exactly.
I keep saying that. You don't have to be married.
You're right.
No, I'm saying once you get married, that's it. You're married.
Yeah, right.
So now you got to do.
You didn't have to get married in the first place. Right. Is what you're saying.
So I'm just saying, you're married now. So now you need to do what it takes to make this marriage happy.
Yes.
And what happens is, I think after you, just like anything, after you do something again and again and again, it then becomes natural.
Yes.
And easier.
Yes.
Okay.
So letting April define what she felt was harsh was a big thing for me, because even though my intent was not to be harsh, she felt like I was being harsh. And so now I have to put a little bit more effort. First of all, I need to ask her, what was it about that you felt was harsh? Mm-hmm. And then I need to figure out a way to make it so that whatever mood I'm in, I think about April's feelings first, not my own mood.
Right.
That's basically what it is. It's like laziness on my part. I'm in a mood. let me just do what I do. But that's not really fair to your spouse, especially if you're trying to have a good relationship with them.
Right. Now I'm going to move this over to the person who needs to be spoken to in a different way.
Yes.
Okay. Because for me, I felt like as we began to delve into why this bothers me and what it is that makes you speak that way, I realized, you know what? It is him. It is a part of his upbringing. It is a part of where he's from and all that kind of stuff. So I have to also take into consideration that he's not trying to hurt me.
Right.
You know,
give me the
he
benefit
may
of the doubt.
give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
You know, you may be direct.
Yes.
And you may have a harsh tone in the way you might say certain things, but I know he's not trying to hurt my feelings. So let me now get a little tougher in being able to handle sometimes when you speak that way. So it's kind of, it's both sides.
It
really.
is. It is. I think this wouldn't work because we're much better at this now, but I think we're so much better because I'm trying and so are you.
Right.
We're both trying to understand each other.
both.
And I do think that it does matter that we have a conversation where I explain to you what I really meant, so that now when you hear that tone from me again, you don't automatically assume that I'm upset with you. You can hear my explanation from last time and say to yourself, okay, maybe this is the same thing as last time. Right. He doesn't really mean it that way. Maybe he's had a hard day, or maybe he's just being direct. Maybe he doesn't feel like going through whatever to find the words. He just wants to say what he's thinking. So, you know, I think both of those things help us and have helped us. That doesn't mean it's still, look, I still hurt April's feelings sometimes. Not meaning to, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like we're completely cured of it, but we don't have nearly the problems that we used to have.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is good.
It is.
Yeah. And you like that, right? I mean, you're happy with that.
Of course.
Okay, good. So you got the person who needs to worry about their tone and needs to allow the person who says they're being harsh, let them be the one to define it. And then you've got the person who feels that the harshness is coming. They've got to do more to try to understand what it is that's going on, to see if maybe the person meant it a different way. And I think that understanding helps you to kind of get to a better place. Now, you actually found something online that I wanted to see if we could interject into this conversation. You found something earlier, like some kind of statistic that said something about like how much of our communication is nonverbal and how many relationships actually benefit from people not speaking harshly to each other. What did you find?
I think it was 38% is of communication is based on the tone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so we're not even talking about physical gestures or anything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's a lot.
That is a lot.
38% dealing with tone.
Yes.
And it was talking about how marriages would be so much happier if we could go into our conversations when it comes to either conflict or not, or whatever, with kindness at the forefront of our minds when we're talking.
Yeah.
If you're talking kindly, and this is what I always say, if you can speak nicely to a stranger,
right,
you're not speaking those harsh tones to them.
Right.
You're not speaking in a harsh tone to people at work.
Right.
So I should be able to get that benefit as well.
So you know how to be polite. You've demonstrated that
you've
over and over
demonstrated
again.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
So this is not you. You know, when you say, this is who I am,
right,
you know,
right.
It's like,
that's
okay.
who you are when you're mad. It's who you are when you had a long day.
Even when you're mad, and let's be real, for some people, now I know some people might go off on their boss and whatever.
That's true.
But,
right. By and large, there are people
but at work, are you really going off on people every day when people get on your nerves? There are people get on your nerves every day at work.
Right.
You know
and
what I mean?
You're not just going
like
off
there's
on
some,
them.
you know, I don't have that kind of job. People getting on my nerves every day.
Right.
Thank the Lord.
Yes, right.
Well.
So people do get on your nerves every day, but you're not showing it.
No. Let me know. I was just hoping to say the kids.
Yeah. Oh, the kids. That's true. Yeah. You
don't get on my nerves.
You are a middle school teacher, though.
I mean, sometimes my nerve is.
I think
is
everybody
squeezed.
will understand.
My
that,
nerve
April.
is squeezed a little bit, but I let my kids know. Okay, guys, my nerve.
That's how much
I'll do like that. And then they're like, okay. So I do believe though that.
I think you should tell them what you told me. I think you should tell them what you said to me in a conversation where I said, you know, this is who I am, and then you said what you said about how I talk to people.
I just said that when you're at work, you know, people say things and do things that would cause you would think that you could respond with a harsh words. Let's say that.
Right.
You could respond with harsh tone.
Right.
And you don't.
Right.
And if they get that, am I not, you know,
as
valuable enough
as important as
to
they?
you to speak, give me that
That same benefit.
That same benefit.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't put it into words.
So it's funny
yeah.
because, my father has the same saying. My father would say all the time, you should never withhold from your spouse the thing that you give to a stranger all the time.
Right.
Somebody strange comes into your house and you welcome them, you invite them in, you try to make them comfortable, all that kind of stuff. And then when you talk to your spouse, you talk to them any old kind of way. And it's harsh, it's rough. It's not kind at all. And you would not do that to a stranger.
Right.
Now, maybe some strangers you would if they seemed hostile to you, but a person who you're trying to welcome into your home, you wouldn't do that to them. Mm-hmm. So my father would say, do not withhold from your spouse the one thing that you would give to any stranger that comes into your door. And I agree.
Well, see, I think too that I have spoken to you that it's not necessarily harsh tone.
Right.
But it could be in a way that you didn't like.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So maybe speaking to you like you're a child or something like that.
Yes.
So not necessarily in a harsh tone.
Right.
But in a harsh way.
And
not even harsh. It wouldn't even say, I guess I would change it to disrespectful. Like you would feel that it's a disrespectful tone.
I think my issue is usually harshness. Sometimes yours is maybe the way that you talk to your middle schoolers, you talk to me.
Right. So, I mean, you could say that you felt disrespected in that tone, right?
Yeah.
So, so then it might bring about a harsh response.
Right. As a response to that. That's
right.
true.
So I get that.
Right.
But I think it's both sides. We should both be
Agreed.
Working on making sure that we have in the forefront of our mind, okay, we need to be kind in our words, and the way we say it, and the tone that we say it in.
Yes.
Because we're trying to make sure that we're happy.
Yes.
And it's hard to be happy when someone is speaking down to you.
Yes.
Speaking
so
harshly
true.
to you.
Yeah.
And in relationships, in a marriage, you cannot do that.
No.
You can't speak harshly, especially with the words as well, because we talked about also cursing at your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And those are types of things that, you could say you would do to a stranger who is
right.
who is hostile towards you.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like, but you would
should not do that to your spouse. You should
and you shouldn't do it to anybody.
That's
but I'm just saying, if you're going to do it to somebody,
right,
don't let it be your wife.
That's what I'm saying.
Or your husband.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I just feel like that's something that if we put at the top of our list, I'm really going to work on making sure that when I speak to my spouse, it's going to be respectful.
Right.
It's going to be kind.
Yes.
It's going to be a tone that is,
loving. Yeah.
A loving tone
Yes.
that I know that would make my spouse know that I love them and that I'm just trying to express my feelings in a respectful way.
Yes. Now, we do have to make sure you understand, we do not believe that it means that you cannot be angry.
True.
We believe that anger is appropriate in certain situations with your spouse.
Of course.
Under certain circumstances. But that even when you are angry, you should try to find a way to communicate love to your spouse, even in your anger.
Even in your anger.
So we're not trying to act like you can't ever get mad, you can't ever get upset, you can't ever raise your voice. April and I have a rule in our house. We can actually raise our voice. Volume level is not the issue in our home. Our issue is the tone. There is something, and you know it when you're talking to your spouse.
Exactly.
There's something about the way you say a certain thing that it sounds like you have just something in your voice that's like, I want to, you know what I'm saying? You
hate
don't,
you.
Yeah, right. You're not trying to communicate that.
Right.
You're trying to communicate
or
love,
you
even when you're upset.
Nerves.
Right. Exactly.
Because I don't want to feel that way either.
Right. Well, here's the thing though. I think that there are times when we are going to get on each other's nerves, and it's possible to communicate to each other. I really don't like when you do that. That bothers me. That kind of gets under my skin. Whatever. But there's a way of saying it that shows that even though I feel that way about what you're doing right now, I still love you.
Right.
That's the point.
It is.
We have to find a way to do that, and we have to prioritize that. We think it's important. And according to the research, if you find a way to do that, your marriage will be exponentially happier.
Mm-hmm. And we're not trying to say it's easy.
No, it's hard. This is like the hardest thing in marriage.
It is, because we do get on each other's nerves, and we do make each other angry.
Yes.
But I feel like the situation can be rectified a lot faster.
So much faster. Yes.
And you may not get so defensive or ready to fight your way out of it.
True.
If there are kind words and kind tones and loving spirit in your anger.
Yes.
It'll
agree.
be easier to resolve
it. I agree. That's true. So here's the thing, babe. even when you make me upset, and this is the thing I think that people need to understand. April and I have a way of being able to make each other upset at a level that a regular person can't even do. True. You know, they say that to each other. You know, no one can push your buttons like your spouse.
Exactly.
And I think it's because your children too. But
we need to apply this to our kids too.
You're right.
It's true.
You're right.
The harsh tones for your children.
It doesn't work.
And
man.
I am guilty.
Me too.
Do you hear me?
Big time.
Because even though Atlanta is polite, we don't play when it comes to our children.
They know how to get crunk now.
We don't tolerate disrespect.
Right, that's true.
Okay.
But I still think that even though John and Julia can push our buttons, I still don't think it's on the same level as me and you pushing each other.
That's true.
And I think part of the reason is because we know each other better than anyone else knows us. So I know what to do to get at you, but also I think it's more hurtful when it's me who's doing it because I love you more than anybody else.
Exactly.
So for me to be the perpetrator of a particular thing is even more hurtful.
That's
it's a double thing. It's like I know how to do it, and then when I do it, it's like, yo, you're not supposed to do that. You're my husband.
Right.
So I think we have to realize this. This is not some little thing. This is a big deal. We have to remember that we belong to each other. We've gotten married now. We're part of each other. We're one flesh. And if we're going to continue that way, we need to build each other up, not tear each other down. And there are times when we're tearing each other down, not even in what we say, but in how we say it.
Right.
Those tones is very important.
And if you're not willing to put forth that effort for your marriage and for your spouse, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
If there's going to be full happiness, like total. Like,
I don't think you can reach the level of happiness that you are supposed to.
Unless you're willing
to
put
do
forth
something.
that effort.
I agree. Yeah. So anyway, hopefully y'all will do that. Yeah. Now it's time for
Word of the Day.
Word of the Day. And what is our word of the day, bro?
The word of the day is tenderness.
Tenderness.
Yes.
Wow.
I really like that word.
That's a good word. Yeah.
It is.
So tenderness, we're not talking about like, meat tenderizer or how, juicy your chicken is or anything like that. This is specific to your relationship with your husband or wife. What is the definition of that? Tenderness.
So tenderness means soft or delicate in substance, not hard or tough.
Wow.
Wow.
So then what you're really suggesting with this word then is that we need to be tender with each other when it comes to the way that we speak.
Yes, and let me give you some more definitions.
Come on.
Delicate.
Ooh.
Gentle.
Okay.
Easily moved to sympathy or compassion.
Wow.
Easily moved to sympathy or compassion.
That's a good one.
We need to have compassion towards one another.
We do. See, the hard thing is it's hard to be tender and gentle and loving and soft and all that when we're upset. That's the thing. And so maybe what we need to do is before we respond right away, before we say anything, if it feels like we cannot be tender with our spouse, if we cannot respond with tenderness, maybe we need to take a minute, take a time out, and then when we can respond with tenderness, maybe that's when we should say what we say.
Yeah, because it requires careful or tactful handling.
Wow. Well, you just hit us between the eyes with that one. Tenderness, that's a good one.
Tenderness, it is.
So let's try to be tender with each other in every way, but especially in our tones.
Yes.
I'm going to do that today more often with you, babe.
Thank you.
But I'm still from New York. Oh, man. Okay. Jinx.
Double jinx.
Triple jinx. See you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Just John and April.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell to be notified about our next episode.
See you next time.
Bye.